as rightly introduced, I'm Joshua Odidi, and then this panel discussion, we'll be having other amazing people who are doing great things in the development sector join us. I'm pleased to introduce the very first panelist that will be joining me, Mubarak Idris. You're welcome. Please let's put our hands together for him as he comes up. The next person is Miriam Manu. And finally, we'll be calling up on stage Halima Olufade. All right. So while they are coming up on stage and then while they are taking their seats, the host has already told us what this conversation is going to be about. It's something around the celebration of Anti-Corruption Day and also how youth have played a major role in the space in building integrity and then how young people are driving change. Mubarak Idris is, I'll just quickly do the introduction. Mubarak Idris is a digital development advocate. He's also an anti-corruption champion with UNODC and one of the brightest minds when it comes to technology. And the questions I would be asking, please, I'd like for you to keep it short and then keep it straight to the point as well. The next person on the panel is Miriam Malum, and then Miriam Malum is an education and gender empowerment advocate, a seasoned youth mobilizer, and strong voice in evidence-based accountability. And the final panelist, Ms. Halima Olufade, someone whom I actually have deep respect for. The work she does also around the development sector with children and also with young people. She has done exceptionally well in that regard. So every young person in Nigeria grows up learning that corruption is wrong. But we also see that in as much as we learn that corruption is wrong, it's still almost impossible to move around in our society and in school without facing one form of corrupt practice or the other. And this is one of the major problems that we'll be hoping to tackle during the course of this panel session. And then my very first question for you, Ms. Halima, is how you've worked closely with young people and even marginalized communities. But in your experience, why is it important to position young people as frontline defenders of integrity in Nigeria's governance future? Why should we continue in this fight and in this encouragement that young people should speak up, act with integrity, and all? Over to you, Ma.
Thank you very much, Joshua, and I'm glad to be here. So what I'll say first is the youth make up the 60% of people in Nigeria, right? So that means that if we don't start catching them young now, then that means that the future of our country is at stake. And so it's very important that we keep involving youth in anti-corruption programs. We ensure that we educate them why very important for them to take action against corruption. And as you have said, marginalized youth, people living in rural communities don't really have access to this information. And so it's very important that we take this information to them, educate them on why it's very important for them to take actions. And irrespective of the fact that, yes, it is hard. It is hard to stand up for the truth. It's stand up for you, to take adequate, to keep your ground. But I'm very sure that with time, and you will see from the story of Aguji community, right? They've been able to change things in their community because the youth there have been able to stand up, have been able to demand for accountability from their leaders. And so it's very important for government not just to use the youth to tick the box, to say, youth has to be part of the policy and they are here to attend, but actually listen to them and enable them to, be part of the process, give them tools to be able to, process, hold government accountable. And very importantly, also data, right? Because without data, you won't be able to do anything, won't be able to hold the government accountable. So we need to understand these things needs to be put in place and people need to understand how they can use these tools. And that's one of the things Step Up Nigeria is doing, right? Using anti-corruption storybooks, virtual realities, animation films for youth to know how they can actually take action.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We can put our hands together while they make their contributions. Something very interesting she said is how young people need these tools to hold governments to account, and also following up with the data that we already have in our very domain. There are data out there that we need to follow up. And then when we talk about Mubarak is a digital storyteller. Is someone who is also into the digital aspect of advocacy and even developmental work. Your leadership in digital advocacy and your work establishing the Nigeria Youth Help Desk, Mubarak, which of course is in your profile and part of the work you've done. What forms of youth advocacy have demonstrated real impact against corruption in communities?
Thank you very much. So, when you talk about that, I think one of the most important things to understand about youth advocacy is the level of agency that you're able to develop in those young people. So, one of the things that has really captured a lot of young people is that when you go into these communities, the most important thing for you to do at first is develop the agency for them to even be able to contribute. So, first of all, take for example, digital literacy is very, very important. And I'd like to give a very recent example. There was a particular tussle that happened between a military official and a government official, right? And then we saw a lot of videos coming out whereby some people were instigating that they actually fought. But meanwhile, these things were actually developed using AI. But if you're not literate enough, some people, it's very easy for them to reshare and put it on their status. And if you ask them, where did you get this information from? You say, this person shared it. So that person shared it. But that is not digital literacy. Digital literacy is your ability to fact check. So when young people are able to fact check, it builds their integrity because they're not just coming around and saying that I saw this. You build a credible level of information. And the beautiful thing about integrity as a character is that you cannot demand for integrity when you yourself do not possess the quality of integrity. So we've seen that when it comes to youth advocacy, it's very important for digital literacy to happen, for them to be able to fact check. And final thing I'd like to mention is that courageous communication is very important. As much as you have your doubts that someone may be involved in one or two practices that are not great, it is not great to just go and call the person you're a thief. You understand? That so we need to practice nonviolent communication, even when we're demanding for our rights. How do we do that in a very nice way that doesn't show that we're being youthfully exuberant? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mubarak. Very interesting points there. Powerful because it aligns with the idea of when the power of the youth is harnessed. I mean, possibilities are limitless, and also just putting it out there as well that the Step Up Nigeria mobile app that we also developed something around that advocacy line, and that helps young people also to hold government to account and even to learn ethics, morals, values as well. Very interesting points there. Over to you, Miriam, with your experience strengthening communities in schools and IDP camps. What are key barriers young people face when trying to demand accountability from institutions and leaders?
Okay, thank you so much for having me here. Such an honor. One of the key barriers I would say is that youth are taken for granted sometimes. Their voices are not put into use. They are used as tokens, right? You know, when we talk about tokenism, yes, we have youth in positions where their voices should be used, but they're just placed there as, should I say, figureheads, and their voices are not used as they should be. So I believe that that is one very important barrier, one key barrier that youth face. So a solution is that people should listen to youth more. They should take their advice and put it into practice more. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Miriam. Very important. I mean, you've touched on an aspect where young people will always have something to say, but it also depends on the way they say it, and also the manner in which it is said. Because some people feel like the way something is communicated depends on whether it's appreciated or not. But thank you so much for that thoughtful reflection, Miriam, because it also just leads us into the second round of the a second and final round of the panel discussion right about now, and we'll be starting with still with you, Miriam, just still staying on that particular aspect because integrity is not a value we teach once. It is a culture we need to re-emphasize. We need to continue to build continuously. And then for young people, for youth also, in order not to be figureheads, as you stated, there's something that needs to be done. There's a change that needs to be done. There's some emphasis that also needs to be made as well. And then the question I'm asking is, from your work in education and empowerment, what tools, what skills do we need to give them so that they do not continue to be figureheads?
All right, thank you so much for that. Number one, I would say is role modeling. And a very good example is what Step Up Nigeria is doing today, the award ceremony that we came for, they are recognizing people, young people and teachers that have held up integrity and honesty. So when children see people, see regular people, see everyday people like their classmates and their teachers being awarded, being recognized, they will want to imbibe and they will want to exemplify what they're seeing. Also, excuse me, we have to teach them accountability and civic education. We have to teach them that actions have consequences. We have to teach them to take responsibility and ownership of their actions. And we can also set up, just like I give an example with today's awards show, we can set up awards like this and show them that they can imbibe integrity, they can imbibe honesty. Because one thing I've learned is that the strongest armor we can have against corruption is an informed young mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The strongest armor we can have against corruption is having an informed mind. Very, very powerful statement there. Thank you so much, Miriam. To you, Mubarak, what commitments now should we see from government and institutions in order to ensure that youth voices translate into concrete governance solutions and even outcomes? How can government support? How can institutions as well support so that the voices of youth can also be heard in building a tomorrow of integrity?
That's a great question. I think one of the first steps that we need to go about is actually happening here. And that is government should be able to partner with organizations that are able to recognize young people who are doing great work, because that would influence them to be able to understand that they're being seen and it is good. But I think there's a shift that needs to happen when we talk about integrity. And that is we should move from a moralistic point of view to a practical point of view. It should be really easy to ask our government officials questions. I should not be seen as an enemy of the government because I want to see how a particular budget was being spent. Really grateful for the government for bringing about the Freedom of Information Act, but we have a lot of cases whereby those letters are being sent and then some of them are not being honored. So government also needs to do the part of honoring it and serve as real champions and leaders for that. I think it's important. And also, I think for young people, which I'm very interested in, because when you talk about integrity, we stand to gain the most from it. It starts from a very young age. It starts from the fact that when you want to write list of noisemakers, you go and tell the class monitor that I'll give you biscuits by the end of lunch break. It starts from the fact that whenever you're planning class party, somehow, 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira is going to miss. So the chances that you would mismanage, if you're able to manage 10,000 naira and you're able to manage 100,000, then it's easier for you to manage 1,000,000. You can't just start mismanaging 1 billion naira. So there needs to be an integrity as a practical form and sustainable way of life. When it becomes a way of life, it's easier to raise champions who have been pained by the cost of corruption. I think there's no one here that has not been able to ply a route. And then you start asking yourself that who was the contractor that was awarded this particular road. Yeah. We have unsafe communities. And then we have some particular projects that have been awarded since 2013 until date. It has not been completed. So we need to be able to ask those questions. Nonviolent communication, as I've stated. And also when we have government actually say that, yes, we want what you want, then we're actually bridging the gap and then we can start talking about progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mubarak. Thank you so much. And finally to you, Halima. You're someone who is building leaders and resilient communities. So how can we ensure that these young people we are building or we are raising up rather are able to move into systems of change, into governance as well, and then help us have a society or a tomorrow that is better than what we have today?
So first of all, I would say give them the platform, right? So people in rural communities, youth need those platforms to speak up. The government could have youth advisory boards, help youth be part of the policy making when it comes to anti-corruption policies, even policies that that helps the community grow. So number one, give the youth the platform. Also give them the capacity and protection they need, right? So if I'm working in the government and I want to hold integrity, I should be able to be certain that when I take certain action, I'm well secured and nobody's coming to, come and attack me or anything else. And also I would say that government should also promote civic education, right? So in digital literacy, like Mubarak mentioned, partner with organization like Step Up that are teaching students on how to hold integrity, ensure that those education gets even to the rural communities. And this would also help, give youth the strength, the knowledge they need, and the confidence basically to be able to step out. And when given their platforms, they're able to speak up when they see things go wrong. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Halima. As we begin to wrap up, I will leave the stage. Your final words, Mubarak, if there's any.
My final word is that Nigeria is a country whereby we have a lot of issues, right? And then one of the most important thing we need to build is character to be able to face those issues. Whether I like it or not, my child is going to be the one to interact with the government in the next 20 to 25 years. So it is important that as we sit here, we're able to do something nice for at least one member of our community. And that could be resisting the urge to, to compromise. So when you build that integrity, it is a daily practice. It is not a utopia that we are trying to reach. It is something that we need to work on every day. And I want to say that it is okay to falter once or twice. And that is why we need these instruments to be able to checkmate it, because we are all humans. And no matter how smart we are, we can fall into bias. But when we have practical systems and tools, it makes integrity a lot easier to practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I would say educate yourselves. It's what I'm currently doing. Educate yourselves on the policies and the laws surrounding anti-corruption in the country. Once you've educated yourself, you can also educate others, because the future we want, the society we want, will not become anti-corruption by accident. It will take intentional people to build it, and only people who are well informed will be intentional enough to build the society they want. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you now.
And I'll just end this with the founder's quote: fighting corruption begins with what we teach our children. So let's take that home.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mubarak, Miriam, and Miss Halima, for your depth, clarity, and courage. Your insights have actually showed us that it is possible in Nigeria where there is integrity is possible. And then Nigeria is not just in capable hands, but it's also in principled hands as well. I'll leave us with a final quote from James Baldwin that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Let's quickly take Joy in front here.
Thank you, Joshua, for keeping to time.